on, let's get some of the lads together. Let's have a good idea. Okay, yeah, all right. Come on, fellas. Get around the piano. Let's have a good go. Come on, then. Are you ready? Come on, you lot. Go on, then.
Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white. The imps are here to stay. Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white. The imps are here to stay. Lincoln City are the team, the Ravens is their name. Stinsel Bank is their home ground and football is their game. So come and cheer them on, you mad, support them all the way. Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white, the imps are here to stay. Oh, 'tis our delight.
Morning all, how you doing? Just before I start, obviously I just want to send my my thoughts and condolences to David Pickwell's Picky's family and close friends after his tragic passing yesterday. He was a friend of mine. He was going to write for the site this coming year, but yeah, there's a lot of people out there who are going to be feeling very, very sad today, and I just want to send my condolences and thoughts to his family and friends. Rest in peace, pal. So after that rather somber start, I want to just talk about a few little bits of news that have come out from yesterday. It's the first chance I've got to do an actual proper dog walk because while the weather's changed a little bit, apparently it's 23 degrees. It's pretty chilly compared to yesterday. So there'll be no sitting in a paddling pool tonight, and the dog will have to go on a walk rather than using the heat as an excuse to lounge around chasing his tail on his cool mat. So Chris Maguire is going to be leaving Lincoln City Football Club. Probably not particularly groundbreaking news for some. I think it's been widely kind of rumoured throughout the summer that his days here are numbered. Obviously, we were at Gainsborough and a friend of mine saw him in the coffee shop in Lincoln. He hasn't been attending games, he hasn't been playing, been very little mention of him. I don't think that there's any surprise really, is there, that Chris is going to leave the football club. I didn't see him fitting in when he arrived last season. I'd hoped that his experience perhaps would help us. I didn't know whether he was not really a winger at 33, didn't really have the pace that we needed. We lacked pace in wide areas. He didn't deliver that. He didn't deliver leadership, which is one thing that you would think, well, where he's been, he can do that. He didn't deliver goals or assists in abundance, certainly not, I think, goals from open play. He only had marginally more than Dan and Lunderloo and Hakeem Adelican. In fact, I think he probably in the league had the same goals from open play as Hakeem Adelican. I might be wrong there. So, when you think about it like that, I think it's clear he didn't have a good season. And I think he was one when we had the injuries and we had the strikers missing, and we went to Oxford without this striker, without a striker, and then we were playing the likes of Hartlepool with either Draper or Lunderloo, and Hopper was injured, and it was just a real pain. And you expected Chris Maguire to step up, and he didn't step up at all. So no real surprise. I've done an article about it. This is really just a recap on that, I think, for those that don't particularly like to read stuff. I like to see it for themselves. Nobody's going to mourn him departing. I don't think he clashed with fans at Hartlepool. I can't remember the league game where he clashed with fans. It might have been Doncaster. I can't remember. You can get away with it maybe once. Twice, I don't think you can. And I think at times you have to have some humility about a situation as well. And when a team's just gone out of the FA Cup, as we did to Hartlepool with a lily-livered performance against a team that were there for the taking the whole game, I just think as a senior player, you have a bit of respect for people that have paid to watch it. You've been paid to be there. You haven't got the result. Just have a little bit of humility about that. And he didn't on 2 occasions. And I think that's for some it's 2 occasions too many. For me, 1 occasion too many. Sometimes a little bit of passion, a little bit, you want to see a little bit of that, don't you? You want to see people who do kind of care, but I don't think with him it was as much caring about the result as it was just, I don't know, looking for a fight. I mean, the man could start a fight in a closed room. undoubtedly a player whose ability, had we seen it, we would miss, and we had seen it. We had seen it against Sunderland. He did have good games, and let's not paint him as an Ian Hamilton figure or a Steve Foley figure who came here for a final payday and kind of didn't perform. And that's probably a little bit more frustrating, because when we saw how good he was, I mean, that goal against Sunderland was a phenomenal strike. Why don't we see more of those? And just frustrating. I like the fact the club are, Mark Kennedy certainly spoke about treating Chris with some respect. He's training with the first team. You treat a man how you expect to be treated, that sort of thing. Yeah, and that was one element, I think, looking back at the way Lee Frecklington was handled, that was really not really allegedly handled, shall I say. And I didn't see it personally, but as I understand it, Lee trained on his own for a while, and he was kind of a club legend, and we're extending the courtesy of first team training and involvement to Chris Maguire when he is at the opposite end of the club legend scale. But look, it shouldn't all be negative on the back of last night, because it was really interesting, I thought, actually listening to the rest of the Hope and Glory podcast and listening to Max Sanders. And this is something, he's a player that probably in the absence of signings, if I'm honest, has begun to excite me a little bit more, because when Max Sanders first signed for Lincoln City, after I'd Googled him, because let's be honest, we had to, I was dead excited. I was really excited at him coming. He'd been on the cusp of the first team at Brighton. He's been tipped to break into their first team. He had played against, might have been Preston in the League Cup. I think he'd really caught the eye of some major football journalists. I seem to think the Independent, the Guardian had kind of mentioned it. We're not talking about local boys here, kind of saying this is going to do well. We're talking about it on a much larger scale. So when he came in, I was convinced that he was the long-term successor to Liam Bridcut, which I'm not sure that's now the case. And I think it's really interesting that he's being not given 90 minutes in pre-season now. He's played lots of games. He is going to be involved in the first team picture. And after a season and a half of barely seeing him, I find that a particularly exciting prospect. I also like the fact that he said, when they said about, it was a tough game last season, he said, I think I should have played more last season. He said that to me in an interview as well. It wasn't something that I included in the text, because you're not going to put it in the club programme. I should be playing more. Players don't lash out at managers in the club programme. But Max Sanders feels he should be playing more for this football club. And unfortunately, there were one or two games last season where he got a start and then he didn't particularly stand out. But, it's harsh, because it wasn't like he was the only one. And there was a game where did we go away? And so Michael Appleton afterwards basically said, some players had been given a chance and not taken it. And it was a really harsh comment to make. And I can't remember whether it was might have been Portsmouth away or something like that. And I remember just thinking, this kid's not going to get a break. He played against Bowers in Pitsea, had a good game. Okay, it's against a low non-league team, and he should be playing well, but not everybody did in that game. And I thought he looked really busy in that as well. So I think the club have got highish hopes for Max, as they have with Sean Rowan, another player who I think we're going to see much more of this season. And it kind of leads on to the fear of lack of signings, because I keep seeing things in the players that I would like to have seen at Lincoln going elsewhere. I have no idea where my dog's gone. That was a surprise. So, for instance, Morgan Whittaker today has been linked with Plymouth. I kind of think, I'd like to have seen him here. And I still think that we are players short. But I also think, on the back of last night's article that I did, that there are a few players, there are a handful of footballers at this club who last season were not in the first team, and probably when they were given a chance didn't take it, who this year actually could. Hakeeb almost certainly, Tom Hopper through injury, Sean Rowan absolutely, Max Sanders is another. I can't remember the other one. I chucked another one in there as well. So there's a good list of them, and I think Max Sanders' interview last night kind of underlines that. He talked about things being a little bit different. They're a little bit different for him because he's got a manager who seems to back him, and I don't think Michael Appleton fully ever backed Max. I don't know why. I don't know whether it was personal. You would like to think it isn't. You'd like to think it was something to do around football. But one of the conversations that we would have last season, whenever the team came out, people around me, two questions would be: one, why is Chris Maguire playing? Two, why is Max Sanders not playing? Now, if you rectify that today, which has happened or seems to be in the process of happening, perhaps the squad that we had last season that we keep talking about wasn't far away from being 5 or 6 places higher. Actually, are we just going to start getting the best out of that? The concern is, and I'm pleased Adam Barlow's picked this up, do you think we'll be further down the queue to get loan signings from big clubs now MA has left? I think we're too short. I think we're too short still. I still think we're an attacking wide player short. We're absolutely a central midfielder short. But I'll come to that again in a minute. An interesting point, actually. I don't think we'll be further down. I don't, because I don't think that Michael was the only driver for the loan signings. I think Mark Kennedy has as much respect. He was with Manchester City, he was with Wolves. I think he's worked, I say as much respect, he has a level of respect. I think it's also based on the club as much as the coach. So I think that Lincoln City, given what we've done with players over the last couple of seasons, will be noted as a team worth sort of sending loan players to. Don't forget the Mike Garrity factor. You know, Garrity was at Liverpool, worked with their youth team for a long while, worked with Neil Critchley, who was another one who attracted young loan players. So I'm not sure that we will be. I think that the loan market is a lot slower this season. I think if you look at the number of loans that have gone to certain clubs, there haven't been as many big headline loans. Luis Fiorini's only just signed for Blackpool now, you know, on loan. So don't forget, I think that clubs are a little bit more reticent at the moment with their loans. I think it tends to be, it feels like it's a little bit slower. We've got Tashan, because Tashan was part of the Stoke first team and, you know, not particularly a young player. I still think that there is a couple of 18, 19-year-old kids to come in. I think that the club are trying to focus more on us having our own players than loan players. I think they've seen Luis Fiorini, Brook Norton-Cuffy, Brennan Johnson, Morgan Rogers come Lincoln City really impress and kick on. I think what they're trying to do is find end of pathway players, perhaps, that they feel that they can do that with. And I think Tashan's an example of that, because he's a loan player, but he's in the last year of his contract. So if he likes Lincoln City and Lincoln City like him, and we think that we can develop him and he thinks he can develop through us, there's every chance at the end of that we'll sign him, as we did with TJ. TJ didn't have a great season last season, but he's the one that was on the list. I think this season, actually, if he gets back to his levels, he could be a significant player. And when you start totting that up, we know Sean Rowan can do it at this level. We've seen it. We know TJ Omer can do it at this level. We've seen it. Max Sanders, we've got huge hopes for. You've then got Tashan come in, who I think could be a key player for us this season. Not seen a lot of him, but he's certainly impressed in pre-season. There's sort of 4 players that actually, if they're on it, probably are top 10, top 12 League One players. Tom Hopper, we know, can do it at this level. Didn't last season, really struggled. But another one, Charles Vernon, is impressing in pre-season. I think defensively we look much more solid. I'm still worried. I still think we're a couple short. I still think we're lacking a Morgan Whittaker style player. I still worry a little bit, if I'm honest, about the left back area. I like Jamie Robson. I think that Sean Rowan can play. I don't know. Maybe not left back. Maybe that one want to press forward. You know, your wingers can't play every game. I just think we're a little bit short in those areas. Interesting comment last night. A friend of mine, Grimsby fan, messaged me and said, is this I need to know, where are we compared to you, and how much of this is your first team? And I didn't go. I've no interest in going to pre-season friendlies. I won't be going on Saturday. It's just the way, just how it is. And I said, how are we looking? And he goes, well, your wide players look really good. He said, and I really like the tall blonde lad in midfield. He's having a great game. I think that's Lass Sorensen. Now, Lass was another one that was on my list, who last season, he didn't have a good season. He was one of the weaker players, no doubt whatsoever. But it's interesting that it's not the first time somebody in pre-season has picked out Lass. Somebody who went to Gainsborough a couple of weeks ago and said, no, it was the Sheffield United game, actually. I think he played in the first half, didn't he? The first game of the Sheffield United game. And said Lass was one of the few players they felt that had a decent game. I think Lass is a Marmite player, a David Batty, Scott Kerr type player. I think he'll work hard in key positions. If he can find his touch, if he settles, if he finds his feet, stays injury clear, who knows? He could be another one. I know he was talked up massively while he was at Stoke. I think he's taken a bit of a knock of late, but he's another one. So, right, look, I said it was going to be a quick one. It is. We're 15 minutes in. The dog's heading back. It is warmer than I thought it was. I just thought I'd do a quick video to pick up on some of last night's points. This is interesting. Just a quick one from Dave Martin. He's put, can recall first interview, Chris Maguire. What does it feel like proving yourself to a new set of porters? And Maguire's response was, I don't have to prove myself to anyone. And I think that probably does sort of sum Chris Maguire up a little bit. Hang on one second. Charlie, come here. Let's go put the dog on the lead. You can have a look, Charlie. Is everybody watching? Hello. Right. So yes, thank you very much for watching. Really appreciate it. And obviously, if there's any signings news or anything like that over the course of the next couple of days, I'll be on your screens. Take care. Bye.